Okay, good day everyone. My name is Alvin Mayers and I'm about to be reacting to another video called An Animated Biography of the Inspiring Walt Disney. And I have always been a fan of Walt Disney and his animated work. He created Mickey Mouse and a lot of different animated movies. And since I was young, I have always been a fan of his work. So I'm going to be reacting to one of a video concerning Walt Disney. So let's get into the video.
Dreamers can come from unexpected places. In 1901, a child was born in Chicago. When he was 4 years old, his family moved to Missouri. Even as a young boy, Walt Disney already loved to draw. His interest really grew when he was paid to draw the horse of his neighborhood doctor. Even though he was going to school and working for his father's newspaper already, he always found time to practice. He often went out to the railway lines before school and after work because he loved drawing the trains. It was an exhausting schedule, but he kept his love of art and story close by. When Walt was 18 years old, he got his first job as a commercial illustrator. Although his attempts to assist in World War I put a brief pause to his career, he never stopped drawing. When he joined the Red Cross, he continued doing illustrations for a military newspaper and also made pictures on the side of the ambulance he drove. When he returned, it didn't take him long to decide he was going to move to California, where there were more opportunities for artists. He worked for several different companies simultaneously in the beginning. He would draw comics, do other writing assignments, and started studying animation together with his friend, Ub Iwerks, another cartoonist. In July of 1923, he made the move to Hollywood. At the time, New York was the hotbed of cartoonists, but Los Angeles held its own appeal because Walt's older brother Roy was there recovering from tuberculosis. It was there he got a start by selling a cartoon titled Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Along with his brother Roy, they started the Disney Brothers Studio to produce the films that had been contracted by a New York film distributor, Charles Mintz. They hired Lillian Bounds in early 1925 as an ink artist, and by that summer, she and Walt had married. The Disney Brothers Studio continued to produce the Alice in Wonderland cartoons, even though Walt had grown tired of the series. This led to tensions between him and Charles Mintz. Walt's conflict with him lost him one of his earliest characters, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, along with half his animation staff in 1928. However, that loss instilled in Walt an even bigger inspiration. In that same year, he created a character that is known worldwide, and possibly the most famous cartoon character in history, Mickey Mouse. Steamboat Willie was the first sound cartoon and became a huge hit. As Walt himself put it, it all started with a mouse. And did it start? For decades following Mickey Mouse's creation, there were dozens of iconic characters in multiple shorts and later full-length feature films. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was an achievement that no one in Hollywood thought would work. It was incredibly expensive and used a variety of new techniques that Walt and his team had invented. As Walt put it himself, if you can dream it, you can do it. More and more characters came out, several of the iconic Disney characters even helping raise money in World War II. Walt was passionate about the United States and American history. It was important to him to be able to contribute. Many of the stories throughout the 1940s had patriotic themes. In 1946, he was a founding member of the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals. Although he got caught up in the Red Scare, throughout all of it he continued to produce films and other cartoons. In 1950, Walt would have another grand idea. People were passionate about his films and curious about visiting his studio. However, there wasn't room to allow the public backstage, so he began to consider creating a theme park. He knew that if he took on something of this magnitude, he wanted it to be different. Theme parks at the time were often more like carnivals, impermanent, dirty, and not a place for parents and children. He decided to purchase property in Anaheim, California, in an orange grove. It was some distance from the studios, so he created a new arm of his company, the now famous Walt Disney Imagineering, the employees creatively called Imagineers. Creative and entrepreneurial ingenuity was needed to create Disneyland, so he started a series of shows on ABC, which, at the time, was a new network. He drove viewers to their channel, and in return, they helped fund the new park. Walt's passion for American history would soon come to life on Main Street, USA, where he rented out many of the shops to outside companies in the early days. Disneyland opened to great fanfare on Sunday, July 17, 1955. It was so popular that over 200,000 people showed up. And this, even though it was an invitation-only event. His fans were creative too. People had fabricated tickets, and some even climbed over the fence to see the park. It opened to the public the next day.
Walt Disney, he went through a lot of stuff. Before he could achieve his dream of being an animator, he had to go through a lot of. Walt Disney, he went through a lot of stuff before he could achieve his dream. Sometimes, Walt Disney looked like he could build his own empire, to be honest, because he had that dream and he could achieve his dream. My dream is kind of personally, my dream was kind of similar to Walt Disney. I remember in high school, or I think when I just started high school, I said that is what I wanted to be. I wanted to become an animator. And an animator is not really an important job. It's not an important job like a doctor is an important career. A teacher is a very important career, but an animator, it's not important. I mean, maybe in our day, it is becoming a little more important, but it's not. It's like you don't need to have an animator to survive. It's more like a hobby type of thing than an important job, and that is what I have always been wanting to do, and you know I still have that dream. I still want to achieve that dream, but I am kind of older now, and it might look, it may look like, I mean, I'm doing certain things, I'm drawing certain things right now, and maybe eventually God might bless my plans and certain things, but um, let's continue to look at the video.
There were 20 attractions. One of Walt's favorites was the narrow gauge railroad that linked all of the lands in the theme park. Even future President Ronald Reagan attended, a longtime Hollywood friend of Walt's. By the end of its first year, Disneyland had received over 3 million visitors. Walt began expanding beyond just films, TV, and theme parks. With the success of shows like the Mickey Mouse Club, he was able to spend time on other projects. He was tapped to help plan a contribution to the 1959 American National Exhibition in Moscow. He created a 360-degree film called America the Beautiful, which turned out to be one of the most popular attractions. It is often overlooked that Walt was also a conservationist. He cared about animals and nature. He created several documentary films, though while not always accurate, inspired a generation of young people to look more closely at nature and science. More iconic contributions would follow. It's a Small World debuted at the 1954 New York World's Fair and is now a mainstay at both Disneyland and Disney World. It was not long after that he announced plans for a Disney World on property he had purchased in Florida. He tagged the idea the Florida Project, and similarly to Disneyland, he again used his reach on TV to talk about developing the park in order to attract investors. Due to its larger project size, Disney World could be a much more elaborate version of Disneyland. Magic Kingdom would be the park that most resembled its California forebear, but Walt also had plans for an experimental, prototype community of tomorrow, Epcot, which he described as an experimental prototype community of tomorrow that will take its cue from the new ideas and new technologies that are now emerging from the creative centers of American industry. It will be a community of tomorrow that will never be completed, but will always be introducing and testing and demonstrating new materials and systems. And Epcot will always be a showcase to the world for the ingenuity and imagination of American free enterprise. While this park does exist today, there were substantial changes from an actual city where people lived to the theme park it became. Sadly, Walt would not get to see Disney World come to light. He was diagnosed with lung cancer in 1966. He passed away in December of that year. He was 65 years old. Despite his untimely death, Walt was an inspiration to many creatives the world over. His Walt Disney Company gave opportunities to generations of entertainers and artists. The Disney parks, with 3 international parks, see millions of visitors every year. His company that started with nothing more than an idea and a love of drawing has become a juggernaut in the film industry and has touched the lives of millions of people all around the world. To quote Walt himself, "When you're curious, you find lots of interesting things to do." Walt Disney certainly found interesting things to do and created some of the most influential art of the 20th century. He blazed new trails and set a stage. As he said, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible." Hey guys and girls, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button to like and subscribe so you won't miss any future videos.
Okay. Yeah, so that was a documentary of Walt Disney, and Walt Disney was a legend. He was a legend, and when you are a legend, it's like your name continues even after you die. People are talking about you, talking about what you did, and all what you did, and I believe it's better to leave the world with 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 something than you leave the world without doing anything. You was just an ordinary person, just living, just trying to survive. No, I believe every human being should leave this world with something. Like when God placed you on this earth, you left the earth with something, and that's how I want to leave this earth. That I place something on this earth, and the next generation after me will say Alvin was a legend. Alvin did great things for the earth with God, not with me, but with God. So I thank you for looking at my video, and God bless.